Hey everyone, guess what? We have Tarot for America today. Oh, hi John Hartman, how are you? Let's see, we got Nathaniel Friedman, we got a bunch of people. Just 1 minute. Spouse is currently calling me and I'm like, nope. We have Tarot for America today. So, um, we have a ton of new decks. I decided to treat myself simply because um I'm not sure how many of you guys have noticed this, but me and Karen, we've been kind of like, um, just 1 moment. Sorry. Hi Nathaniel, great to hear that you're driving. Me and Karen, we've been kind of like doing a lot of stuff. You know what I mean? We've been low key kind of like masterminding some things. And as many of you guys know, I've been kind of having both content fatigue and just I wanna say it's emotional burnout, but it goes beyond that. Like, it's not just emotional burnout, I've been feeling spiritually burnt out, I've been feeling quite a lot of everything, and a lot of this has to do with the type of topics that I've been covering for the past year, not to mention what appears to be a gag on my writing on Substack, because a lot of us have seen the proof in the pudding. Left-leaning writers are being gagged. Some of us more than others. I think it doesn't really help that I'm on a lot of watch lists and I already have an assigned FBI agent because of it. Um, well, I have the assigned FBI agent for a different reason, but we're not going to get into that. Um, Me and Karen have been working on trying to come up with something that's a little bit more upbeat, a little bit more interesting, and we've started to notice that Tarot for America has been resonating with a lot of people. So, without further ado, uh, we are going to hopefully get started with Tarot for America. I wanted to bring out a couple of cool things, so don't mind me. I have to just find the other thing I bought. Um, I did a lot of shopping for a lot of different types of photo shoots. Hey, Karen, what's up?
I scared myself because when the camera came on, my face was right in there. I jumped.
Yeah, I was just telling everybody that we've been kind of masterminding a new project between the two of us. I definitely want to get Wendy the Druid in on this too. There's a couple of others who
Yeah,
I
I would
think
love
are going to
Wendy.
become regulars. So before we get started, Karen, I know that you have been doing a lot of astrological stuff, and I
Yes.
know that you gave me a heads up. So why don't you give them a heads up while I prep my workspace and find that other tarot pack that I just bought?
Okay. Well, one of the things we were talking about, Oceana and I chat pretty frequently in between these calls. I was reminding her that Mercury, which a lot of people are familiar with, Mercury will be going retrograde on November the 10th, and it's going to be going retrograde into the sign of Sagittarius, which is communication. And yes, I don't really love Mercury retrograde, but it does offer opportunities. Every planetary transit does give both sides. So when you look at Mercury retrograde, it can be confusion, it can be chaos, things get lost, messages get lost, and especially with it in Sagittarius, it could be a little bit more chaotic than normal. The good news is it will be done by the end of November. So Mercury will go retrograde in Sagittarius on the 10th, and it will go direct and out of the retrograde on the 30th, which will give us plenty of time for the Christmas holidays. It seems like a lot of years Mercury goes retrograde during the Christmas season. And that is like the absolute worst time because you're trying to ship, you're trying to, well, I don't know if people send cards anymore, but they used to. People still sometimes send packages or they ship things, they order something and it gets shipped. And the absolute worst time to have Mercury retrograde is right before the holidays. So, luckily, the good news about Mercury retrograde coming up in November is that we're going to get it done and handled before we get to Christmas. With it in Sagittarius, it's going to start out in Sagittarius, but the reason we call it Mercury retrograde is because it appears to be moving backwards. And it is going to go into the sign of Scorpio. So it will be in the sign of Scorpio, starting on the 19th. It will finish out the Mercury retrograde period in Scorpio. So this indicates two possibilities. The first one is that with Sagittarius, when people have a lot of planets or they have a planetary profile in Sagittarius, it often means that they say what they're thinking. They don't have a very good filter. Sometimes Sagittarius is too honest for their own good.
Wait,
And they
I'm a
say,
Sag?
no, no, you are not. And you don't even have any strong profile in Sag. You know, you're mostly Pisces and you have a lot of Aries, so and some Capricorn, but no Sag. Well, everybody has a little Sag somewhere, but no, it's not one of your prominents. But with Mercury and Sagittarius, it's an opportunity to go back and apologize. If you have offended somebody, if you said something off the cuff, if you've, filtered inappropriately, somebody said, "Hey, what do you think of this new hat?" And you just burst out, "Oh my God, it makes your head look like a tomato." Obviously you probably upset somebody. It would be really nice to say, I wasn't thinking, I was in a bad mood or whatever was happening. I'm really sorry. I didn't mean it. But the good news about Mercury retrograde, you can fix things that you broke before. It's the opportunity to go back around and make amends, to fix things that are broken. Anything you've started before, you can continue doing. It's not a great time to start new things. It's not a good time to like buy a phone, which is communications, or start a new company that's totally reliant on communications. But it is a good time to go back and sort of retrace in your life things that you need to maybe put in order. So that's it for Mercury retrograde. There's lots of other good stuff coming on, but this is a big one. A lot of people really understand what it means. I mean, even people in Cosmopolitan magazine talk about Mercury retrograde. So it's a very common astrological indicator. Let's get it out there, mark your calendars, and get ready to use it to the best of your advantage. Take it away, Ossiana.
So, I think that everybody and their grandma knows that there was a major protest this weekend, the No Kings protest, and it's become almost kind of like almost a quasi-American holiday because obviously we in America have a lot to we have a lot to protest right now. And while my belief is that there are a lot of more effective ways to protest, such as not stopping protest, refusing to work, refusing to contribute to taxes. This definitely seems to be a mark in the right direction because it got a certain tyrant in chief very butthurt. And in recent, like, as you guys know, in recent readings, a lot of the stuff they said apparently did come true. Um, so me and my fellow witch here, we've been actually talking about having a channel that's mostly oriented towards astrology, towards spirituality, towards tarot, and other stuff that makes people happy and also gives us kind of a place to chill. And I also think that's going to kind of become an institution, ideally, hopefully, on Substack and beyond, simply because, well, I think that we kind of need a place to witch out.
Yeah, I agree. And you know what? When you have information, knowledge is power. For example, if you know Mercury's coming and it's going to be retrograde, hey, from November the 10th to November 30th, this is not a good time for me to be buying a phone, starting a new business. If you can avoid it, making a commitment of any kind, signing a contract. You can use that. That's the beauty of astrology and tarot. You can use the information to sidestep some of these potential pitfalls that you might experience in your life. So it's also, an advantage because a lot of people aren't walking around with an ephemeris under their shoulder or under their arm. So to have that information, it's a little bitty boost for them, a little gift.
Hmm.
Hopefully they'll feel it's a gift. I hope they think that it's a good thing. At
And
least
just
trying.
giving you guys a heads up, I'm still doing pay what you want for the rest of the month for both Beehive subscriptions paid as well as online tarot readings. And as you guys know, I went to a cat convention the other weekend and I actually was able to buy a kitten oracle deck.
Ooh.
which was actually inspired by kittens that the deck maker who I got to meet um actually fostered. So I 100 like as much as I railed against the douchebag who was all, "Oh, you're lying about your health conditions, Mr. Vegan," this morning, I actually do care about animals enough to fundraise and support local artists who are trying to help them out. So, in the spirit of that, I got 3 new tarot decks that we're gonna give a shot to.
Yay.
Because one, this is the start of House of Bast or House of Sekhmet. I haven't fully decided which one. I think it's House of Sekhmet. And a bunch of other decks, a bunch of other projects, which are going to involve me tapping into my more spiritual side simply because I've noticed that a lot of people have been feeling the readings that I've been doing online. If you've actually been inspired and or noticed a pattern of things coming true after I've read them, feel free to send some hearts. I saw a lot of hearts, so I'm like, okay, this is a vibe. Um, but yeah, right now we are in a very unusual part of American history because we obviously have struck a nerve with the taco in chief. A lot of people who are right wing have started to really lash out in ways that, I mean, we kind of all predicted, but we also didn't predict it would be as severe as it is. Um, I think that all of us have experienced threats to us, shadow bans. I've been shadow banned. I've had death threats. I even had people actually come to my workplace to threaten me. Um, y-
No,
Karen, I told you about that. I told you about what happened.
I know, but I'm shocked that that would happen.
I'm also small potatoes, so I don't even want to know how many other content creators in my field have been dealing with this and how often it's been happening. It's become kind of a mark of honor among us political writers. Hence the reason I want to kind of divest from that a little bit, if only just to save my sanity and not have as many death threats on a weekly basis.
Well,
Um,
in November, on November 8th, we're going to have a very special sextile. It's a waxing sextile. It's going to be Uranus and
mhm.
Neptune, and they're going to be retrograde, and they're going back into a placement where they're more comfortable. Uranus is moving back temporarily to 29 degrees of Taurus, and Neptune is moving back into Pisces, where it's very comfortable. I think that there's going to be a retracing. I think a lot of people who voted for Trump and believed that he was the answer for our country, I think they're starting to really question that. I think on
They
multiple
are.
levels, multiple people. In fact, I have family members who were so staunch about this issue that you couldn't even talk to them. And now they have really softened their stance. So I think seeing all the stuff that's happened and just it hasn't even been a year yet. All the things that are happening with abortion, which was it's a cause near and dear to my heart because I've experienced people dying from bleeding out from self abortions, and I just have a deep feeling in my heart that everyone should have a right to their own reproductive health. So that's a very
Mhm.
special cause to me. But I've seen people really softening in a lot of different ways. I don't know if you have.
So, aside from the very, very veiled but very terrifying threat that I got, um, I'm I'm not gonna get into it, but I actually do believe that there may have been a government agency behind that one. Um, I have noticed people softening up, especially when it comes to matters of Trump in America. I actually recently had some friends who I pretty much backed away from come back into my life and they're like, "Listen, dude, I am so sorry I voted for this asshole. I did not realize that you were right." They did not want to believe it. I've had a lot of people pretty much ask, like, "How can I make it better? Because I did not realize how badly I'd be screwing over myself and everyone I care about." And I was like, "Well, you could, kind of join in the protest and everything." So there's a lot of that. And I think that that's going to be one of the first questions that we should ask. Like, what is going on with the American psyche right now because I feel like it's very battered and bruised. And I
Yeah,
think that
very much
I
so.
think in a weird way, I get the feeling that it's been men more than women who have been having this massive crisis of faith. Because in a weird way, their misogyny, their inner hatred of all things feminine, all things LGBT, it's kind of gotten to the point where they can no longer ignore how much of this is their fault. And I think that women are starting to have their own kind of crisis of faith, but not necessarily just in the American system and in dating, but also in themselves. Because on one hand, you know, I've often been told, like, be this independent woman. You don't need no, you don't need a man, and you also still get crucified if you want one. And a lot of people have kind of, and I speak about this as a feminist writer, they kind of have made relationships the enemy rather than the people who are actively hurting other people based on gender. And I think that that's been a long time coming crisis of faith for both men and women.
I think this whole abortion thing is really affecting people too. I posted a story tonight that I had covered. I had researched in 2023, right after Roe was overturned, a doctor in Indianapolis who took pity on a 10-year-old girl who had been raped and was
Got
pregnant.
arrested.
Well, not only did she get arrested, but they prosecuted her. They tried to take her medical license away. They harassed her, they harangued her. They did everything they could to punish her. And they even said publicly, "We're going to get you for doing this." And she was trying to help a 10-year-old girl who'd been raped by a family member and was pregnant. And she was able to, the girl was from a different state where abortion was totally, unavailable for any reason, rape included, a 10-year-old girl, and she was in Indiana. And so she took pity on her and said, "I'm going to do it for her." And she did. And both states ganged up on her. Both attorney generals in both states went after her hammer and tong. And she survived, but at great cost to herself. There was, of course, legal fees, and she was harassed, and she was afraid to go to work. Her family was harassed. It was terrible. She tried to help a 10-year-old girl. And I think a lot of people were horrified by that example. And it's only gotten worse. In the last
Yeah.
2 years, it has only gotten worse. So I think there's a lot. Even the Unitarian Church, believes in, pro-choice. They believe in a woman's right to reproductive freedom and reproductive health, and abortion is health. It is a health
Hmm.
thing. So I think that, but still the government is pushing really hard to outlaw it in all 50 states. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah. And it's not going to stop there. So let's find out a little bit about how this crisis of faith is affecting both
Okay.
men and women. I'll do
Okay.
a 3 card spread for each of them, okay?
Mhm.
This is the brand new Oracle card deck. So guys, you're witnessing history.
Yay.
What is happening with men with this crisis of faith in relationships, feminism? Oh, wow. I have not actually read the guide yet, but the vacuum, that is such a perfect freaking card for men. The
Isolation,
high
right?
five. Well, let's see. They have this is interesting. I got this 3 card spread as far as like this crisis of faith I've been seeing in men. I got the vacuum, the high five, and mother's milk. And it's interesting that mother's milk came up in the men's reading rather than the women's reading. So let's see what they're saying about each one. Let's see. The black cat, the high five. Ah, here we go. The vet cat. I want to go. I want to go in order, so I don't know. This does not appear to actually have a order, which is interesting. They have the Zoomies, Hungry Boy. There's no rhyme or reason with this thing, so I'm just gonna try to find. Okay, so let's see. The vacuum. Be still, tiny kitty hearts. Nothing sends them palpitating like the loud, vicious, mysterious vacuum. Yes, at first glance, it symbolizes everything that we hate. The unfamiliar, the unpredictable, the intrusive and destructive. The temptation to cower in its presence is understandable and completely natural. It urges you to respect the fear, but don't give in to it, at least not entirely. Is your response to the threat right-sized? Once you've assessed your situation accurately, you'll know yourself and know what to protect and preserve yourself, or step forward courageously and stand strong. Trust your instincts. Now that's interesting for me for a wide variety of reasons. Um, Men definitely are terrified of feminism, and they are also more or less really scared of. I also want to say that they're kind of afraid of being alone because of feminism. Um, a lot of the a lot of the guys who I've met who are quote unquote anti-feminists weren't necessarily actually anti-feminism, but they were anti being left alone or being left in the dark.
Isolation.
So, yeah, they definitely feel like they have an isolation type thing going on. So, that was the first card. This is I do apologize. I was not expecting this to not be alphabetized.
Okay.
Or, not thing, but they're oh my god, these things are so cute though. So let's see, the vacuum was the next one. I think there was a high five here, the water bowl, the magic wand, the Mew, the lonely boy, the boop, the duster, catnip, birds, orange boy, the ledge, the kibble. Okay, so I'm kind of just going to go with oh, the high five. Here we go. So this one says up top, down low, too slow, no such thing. There's plenty of high fives to go around. And when you say you can't teach an old dog new tricks, you're no old dog. This is a sign to embrace the joys, the new things, whether it's acquiring a new skill or plunging headfirst into a new experience. So that once again goes into the vacuum because when you actually have to live in a fully egalitarian system as a privileged person, you don't know what the hell to do. That's the God's honest truth about it. Like a lot of these guys, I've heard men be like, "Well, I'm afraid of actually approaching women because I don't want to be called a rapist or I don't want to be called a creep." And
Or a
in
pedophile or whatever.
yeah, and speaking as somebody who is in an open relationship, I actually get it because it's very hard to really gauge whether, somebody's being very aggressive. Like I'm hyper aggressive with men I like. And then they tend to bail because they think I'm either like a catfish or, they're not used to actually having somebody who is open to sweeping them off their proverbial feet.
Mm,
Like I'm a very needy person when I'm in a relationship. And I think that I see a lot of that same kind of fear in men because they do have needs. They do want to actually commune with women. They also a lot of them want to have female friends, but they have no idea how to even approach them as friends.
yeah, it's very
Um,
confusing right now.
and that's the one thing I will say about traditional gender roles, which I think gave a lot of men a lot of guidance. Men in a traditional gender role, they knew exactly what to say, exactly what their role was, exactly what to do, exactly what not to do, and knew that if a woman did X, Y, and Z, they could predict with pretty decent ability that the woman would be interested in A, B, and C. They don't have that anymore. The rule book just flown out the window. And I actually do feel for these guys because I'm kind of in the same situation. I don't act like a woman when I'm in a flirty mode. So I get what they mean. Like it's very hard to actually delineate what you're supposed to do. I think that makes a lot of men short circuit far more than they want to admit. Now, the last card that I got for men was mother's milk. There's not much a kitten needs straight out of its mother's womb except to nurse and to be kept warm. Those first weeks of nursing are crucial to a kitten's digestive and emotional development. For you, feeling nourished and connected is equally important. Bam, there it goes again. This is
Nourished.
all this is all about men being terrified of feminism, being terrified of the right wing, being terrified of what they've become, because they don't feel nourished by society and they don't know how to ask for help. Boom. It's
There it is.
saying, and it says, this card encourages you to examine the forces you surround yourself with to make sure those deepest, most fundamental needs are being met emotionally, physically, and spiritually. So, like, guys, please listen to this deck. I love this deck already. So let's find out what's going on with the lady folk, huh?
Yeah, especially what's going on with all these laws they're trying to pass to take over women's bodies.
So let's find out what's going on with women during this time of crisis in the United States. What's going on in women's minds? Night vision. Oh my god, I love this. It looks like my babies.
Oh,
We
very cute.
actually have we
Very cute.
actually have like two of the cats right now on the bed.
Oh, there they are. Oh,
Yeah. So they're being good little familiars. Um all right, let's see. We've also got the climb. Oh my god, I love it when cats climb up my legs. I need more cats. I only have 5.
I'm surprised you didn't offer to rescue any of the kittens.
I want to. I want to, but my family right now, they're like, "Oceana, if you get any more cats, you're moving out." And I'm like, I really just need to start a nonprofit where Oceana just houses all the unwanted babies and just me and like a bunch of babies are a family. That'll be
Oh,
perfect.
oh,
And then we also got the catnip. So let's see what this says about about women right now and where they're standing, where they're feeling their everything going. All right, because I think I know what the catnip is about. Because I am kind of notorious about my love of kratom. And I think it has something to do with what a lot of women have started to do. Um, simply put, uh, a lot of a lot of women I've noticed in my circles at least, um, they started to use substances as a way of numbing themselves to what's going on. And if they can't afford substances, then they tend to go off into like fiction a lot. Um, I know a lot of women, and I've even hi Linnea, hi Ninja. I know a lot of women in my circles, at least, like the ones who have absolutely decided no more men. Doesn't matter if he's a millionaire, doesn't matter if he's a billionaire. I can't take it anymore. They actually turned to anime, manga, romance novels. Like romance novels have become a really, really, really massively exploding industry of late. I've also seen a lot of women escape into chat character.ai, much more so than men, actually. Most AI most AI partners are for women. So that whole thing about men threatening women with getting chatbots, I think women already beat them to the punch. But let's see what it says here. The catnip. Don't be so uptight, dude. Who doesn't love a little nip from time to time? Some kitties go nuts for this magical mint, and others couldn't seem to care less. For those who like to sniff, who's to judge? Pleasure is pleasure, and there's nothing wrong with allowing yourself uninhibited relaxation, celebrating the good things that life has to offer. This card could urge you to look at your own relationship with pleasure seeking. Only you know if allowing enough of life's delights to balance your penchant for hard work. It's okay to go from time to time as long as you're not sacrificing your health and safety. So that goes into what I've been seeing. I don't know if you've been seeing it too. Like a lot of women, rather than be like the social safety net of America as they've traditionally been, yeah, half the new book sales for a while. Yes, you're right, Linnea. But I don't know, ladies, have you noticed a lot of women just kind of be like, rather than be the social safety net, I'm just gonna do me and I'm gonna have fun. How many of
right.
you have
I've
seen
seen
that?
that a lot. All my friends are like that. In fact, they're much more into self care than they've ever been before because
Mhm.
life is hard and things are chaotic and they don't know what's happening from day to day. And they're putting more energy into yoga and self care and taking care of themselves, getting better sleep, eating, exercising. A lot of my friends are into the self care routine as a way to balance all the chaos.
Yeah. And I've started to see that a lot more. It seems like women are actually strengthening up and rising, while it seems like just judging from the men's cards, like most men are not doing as well as women are right now. And I think that's actually part of the whole vacuum thing where they're actually afraid of that.
Yeah.
Um,
It's it's been, this started a long time ago with the pandemic in 2020, but I don't think that we ever recovered from that completely. Do you?
we didn't. We
The gender
absolutely did
roles?
not.
No.
No, like even in nightlife, prior to 2020, there was a lot of like unwritten, unspoken rules in nightlife that, they just there were certain things that you always did. For example, if you're a guy and you wanted to show interest in a girl, you would offer her a drink, you would allow her to order and get it directly from the bartender. Or like if you're one of my exes, you'd be like, "Hey, I got a dime bag with your name on it." There was always that like offering. There's a little bit of chivalry. And like, if a guy saw a girl passed out, he would check her pulse and not touch her. I'm not going to go into what happened on my birthday, but I don't really know what happened. Nobody is willing to tell me what happened. So, um, a lot of that chivalry, which I was very used to and actually heavily relied on prior to 2020, it's kind of gone. And I think that kind of just goes with the flow. Like we never really fully recovered from 2020. It's actually known as isolation shock. That's actually a term I recently discovered myself. So let's see what they're saying about the climb
Okay.
and then night vision. As kittens know all too well, the universe wouldn't put human legs in their path if they weren't meant to be climbed. So cute. Oh my god, this is so cute. Um, because it's so true. I love it when babies climb on me. Um, Fortunately, the little fluff balls intrinsically possess the audacious spirit required to tackle such seemingly insurmountable obstacles. Their lesson for you is to stop overthinking and focus on the difficulty of the task at hand and just start. Newton was definitely talking about kittens when he noted that an object in motion stays in motion. This is very true if you've ever had kittens. Like, I love them because they're babies and they have zoomies all the time.
Oh,
Um, you might be surprised to find that once you get going, the journey is far less daunting than you anticipated. Momentum is everything, and the sheer sense of achievement that awaits you is priceless. So, I definitely see a lot of this with women, even those who have started to leave the workforce. Um, Female resistance, especially towards Trump, is at a fever pitch. Like, the easiest way to get out of a date is to say that you're a Trump supporter. You'll watch women vanish. Like, hell, I'm desperate for a hot date and everything, but I still would be like, you know what? I decided I just got malaria and polio and multiple sclerosis
oh,
and black plague. Unfortunately, that means that I have to stop eating this meal, which by the way you're paying for, and I'm gonna go. That's the easiest way to make me vanish. No cap. I've seen a lot more women getting very audacious about like how they talk about men, and in a weird way, I've also noticed misandry that's more or less just feminine rage. And this doesn't sound like a good thing because in a lot of ways it's not. But there's been a lot of women who they got tired of being tone policed by misogynists online who these same guys they're joking about raping women, killing women, this, that, and the other. And I've been noticing a lot more women just being like, you know what? I'm not gonna tone police myself anymore. I hate men. And then they just stop there. And it online, I've seen this literally short circuit men. Like it's the wildest thing. I think that the climb is kind of alluding to that. There's a lot of women who they're done. They're just doing the thing. Um, have you noticed this in your fields as well?
I have. It used to be that people would ask me all the time, if I did charts for people, which I don't do as much anymore, but when I do, they used to always ask me about, am I going to meet my soulmate? Am I going to meet a husband or a spouse or a partner? Because, they might be looking for a partner. They might be LGBTQ. But specifically women looking for men were, when am I going to find the one? I had this one client would call me like every year asking me about that, and she didn't call me And when she did, I said, "You didn't do your annual call." She said, "I don't care if I find one. I'm done. I don't care." And I mean, she called me every year for 5 years to ask about that, and now she's just not interested. So, yes, I'm really definitely seeing a change.
And I see the same thing. So the final card is night vision. And this I just actually turned to the page and it took a completely different path than I thought it would, to be honest. So with night vision, there's no other way to say it. Kittens' ability to adopt their vision to the dark is freaking cool. Humans might not have the same adaptability. Learn something new every day. But given enough time, we're somewhat able to adjust to darkness. It might seem scary at first, but the night vision card encourages you to embrace your own inner adaptability and rely on your own skills for navigating negative or unfamiliar circumstances. Someone turned off the lights. You've got other sentences to step in and help you navigate murkier ground with confidence and clarity. It may take you time to adjust, but have faith that you already know you have everything in order to succeed. So,
I think that's very profound, don't you?
Mhm.
It's like
Yeah.
look inward for the answers. You may not be able to see them with your eyes, with your human eyes, but look inside, you'll get answers that you need when you see it that way
And I've been seeing this a lot with
from your
just
higher
women
self.
in general. Like, the key with night vision was that whole thing about adapting to negative circumstances. And I've noticed women doing absolutely downright ingenious things just to get ahead these days. Like, I have one friend of mine who she was always a very traditional person up until recently. Like, we're talking this girl, she got married at 16. If that gives you an idea of like how traditional she was. It
Traditional.
was like
Yeah.
like she was from a sect of Christianity that was okay with child marriage. She always had, husband this, husband that. Well, spouse left her and she's been adapting in ways that I didn't even know was humanly possible. She's actually doing better now than she was with her spouse.
Wow.
Um,
Well, good for her. That's impressive.
I've been seeing a lot of adaptation with the loss of birth control rights and whatchamacallit, abortion rights. I've seen a lot of women offer other women to go camping or touring or just to hang out while they talk about their things. They've started to rail against a lot of the very same social media companies and movements that encourage them to go with patriarchy.
You know, what's interesting right now is a time where parents are looking for colleges and universities for their children. And
Mhm,
it never used to be that people worried about sending their daughters to a red state or to a state that had limited abortion. And that has become a big thing now. In fact, I've read and talked to people who have said, it used to be you worried about the quality of the education, how much the tuition was, how far away from home it is. But now one of the top concerns is if they have a daughter, do they want to send them to a state that's a red state? And I've been aware of people who are talking about this. A lot of people are talking about this, which is interesting. Wow, one of the big key questions about where to send your daughter to college is what happens if she needs an abortion? Who would have ever
mhm.
thought that was going to be an issue, right?
Exactly. And for the ladies who are currently trying to get an education, I see you. I love you. Keep on rocking. And remember that you don't always just have to have an education in America. One of the ways that women have started to adapt to the Trumpian worlds that we currently live in, a lot of the best students I know are actually looking abroad for their education, and they're saving money by doing so.
So you mentioned adapting. I think that's a really good topic because there's probably women who are listening or who might listen after the fact who are saying, "Okay, Ossiana, what do you mean by adopting? What adapting? I don't mean adopting, adapting. What do you mean by that? Can you give some examples besides going
So,
overseas to educate to get education?"
so, actually, I want to give a rather shocking example of this, which happens with me.
Okay.
Um, I've actually started to adapt to this world myself. And the easiest way I've learned to do it is I've learned to out crazy the right wing. And, like, obviously, I have a natural knack towards being psychotic. I mean, let me just
No,
put it this way, like, I
no,
have a ton of crash outs,
no.
but what I've noticed is that a lot of, people in the right wing, if you go even further right than them, and you start describing in really, specific terms all the violent fantasies you have about X, Y, and Z, they immediately start backpedaling and they start looking at you kinda funny, and it makes them kind of, what's the word? Hit the pause button on their hate train,
Yeah. But listen,
and
you and I have talked about other ways that you're adapting.
Mhm.
You
Um
are looking at different topics. You mentioned early
Mhm.
on that you were burnt out about the politics that you'd been writing about and about the women's rights, which now, we still need to write about that, but there it's much more difficult to get traction with those
It
topics.
is.
And you've talked about other areas that you are looking into that would give you joy, that could be profitable, but that would allow you to continue to be a content provider without burning out. So
Mhm.
that's a way that you're adapting, which is quite admirable.
The other way that I've, personally been adapting with a lot of, like, my love life, the fear of actually going out to meet people, as well as kind of the confirmed belief that even if I were to set up a date with someone, I don't actually believe they'll show up. I've tried it at least, like, 6 or 7 times. It's just that, um as far as me being a priority to the people who matter, it has not happened. So what I started to do is I just started to use my loyal fans as a way to at least get some validation and at least get that feeling of, hey, I'm worth something, quite literally. Like, I know it sounds unhealthy, but in a very strange way, it does give me a way to sit to self you know, to express myself and my sexuality in a way that gets me paid, and also in a way that does not completely destroy my, wallet. It actually helps it. And it's interesting because it's also a known way for people to network. So a lot of the people who I've been talking to behind the scenes have been very, very good at actually helping me develop my
Supportive,
writing
very
marketing as well.
supportive, right?
Mhm.
Super
Yeah.
supportive. Yeah.
So as a performer and as, somebody who, I'm actually getting a lot of the damage from this crisis of faith that humanity seems to be having with itself. Being able to adapt by using some of the potentially not that healthy routes in a healthy way, that
I think
actually
I
works.
think you're doing an amazing job. And you know what? Who's to say they're not healthy? If you're communicating with people, if they're helping you, they're supporting you, you're able to expand your social network.
Mhm.
That's all healthy. That's no
Yeah.
matter how you're doing it, doesn't matter. You know, there should be no label. I don't think there should be a box or a label.
So let's use the next tarot deck, since I'm in a pastel mood, Alchemy of the Spirit, to
Okay.
ask how can women adapt to the Trumpian dystopian world of a place where we now have fewer rights than our mothers had at the same time. All right, so let's ask about how we can adapt. I'm kind of interested because I'm not sure if you can tell, but as far as Oracle decks go, this is a much larger than average.
Very thick. Hmm.
Yeah. So let's find out what this Alchemy of the Spirit has to say. Interesting. I got the desert, the moorland, and let me see here. We'll do, the library. I find the library one to be very interesting because I used to be a librarian when I was younger. Well, technically a library page. And the sheer amount of resources those places have is absolutely jaw dropping. And there's more libraries than there are McDonald's in America.
Well, one way that women can adapt, in fact, what will probably happen is a good possibility Back before Roe versus Wade was passed, when abortion was illegal almost everywhere in the United States, there was the underground abortion railroad, so to speak. And then there
Mm.
was a very large one in Chicago, and it was run by an organization called the Janes. And all you had to do was call a number. It was an anonymous number, although now the way that technology is, it would be fairly easy in some regards to set up a way to get a hold of somebody to get help. And they helped. They would come get you, they would take care of it. They had volunteers. Even if it is, even if it comes down that they make it illegal in the entire United States, there will be people that will help. Don't you believe that to be true?
I agree because I've been one of those people, and I was not one of the people who received help when I needed it. But I know for a fact that there are people out there who are watching. There are people out there who care. Um, in my area, maybe not for me, but there are people who will actually go out and care. You just have to figure out who they are and where they are. Like Karen, you are one of the people who I believe that you care about me. Like,
I
just so
do.
you guys know, Karen right here is my online mom. Like, I've decided that I am her daughter. So let's see what the library says. Okay, so I was not expecting this because, like, at first glance, this looks like a healthy library, right?
It does.
Well, there's actually fire here. The library is on fire.
Oh my gosh.
And it says, you've reached a burning library, and what might seem like destruction instead is a blessing. Chaos is the door to transformation, and you can take this chance to free yourself from the heavy baggage of limiting beliefs you have about yourself. Bam. That was
Wow.
exactly the same thing that the last reading said.
It did. Pretty much.
Um, at one point, those
Getting a
beliefs were the voice.
consistent message. You're getting a very consistent message.
Yeah. At one point, those beliefs were the voices of other people, but you now recognize how those voices come from you and follow you everywhere. There's no place where you can run from yourself. So you have to declutter your spirit of the negative beliefs that you're chasing like ghosts and instead act on your intention to build new statements. Words and thoughts are powerful, and they can create a prosperous life or a prison for the heart. You'll see how the journey will become lighter as you shed these layers of yourself. To start working on this change, start journaling. Writing can become an incredible tool to help you uncover and change those beliefs.
There it
Okay, like
is.
not for nothing, but I almost feel like that might have been a little bit personal for me because I kind of needed to hear that.
No, it's
Um,
self-care. Remember what we talked about the
mhm.
other cards? Self-care. Dig deep. Find your inner strength, find your inner message. There it is.
And this is all about building that momentum, which is the just do it part. That's exactly what the other thing said. So, despite me actually having shuffled these, we actually got 3 in a row. So, the next one is the moorland, which is the moment of freedom. I think that most women right now, they don't really feel that free, but in a weird way, I've seen a lot of women just shedding a lot of the baggage that they've had just because society told them to have that baggage. So let's see what the Moorland says. It's not the situation that disappoints you, but the expectations you have of it. Oh, I think that a lot of us can relate to this. A lot of us are very deeply disappointed in the rollback of women's rights. I think a lot of us have gotten angry. A lot of us expected there to be a much larger outcry among both politicians and a lot of male loved ones.
Yeah. Especially the
Um,
politicians. I will often say to my husband, "Where are the leaders? Where are the politicians that we need to step up right now? Why aren't they doing something?" I mean, I ask that question on a regular basis. And I know some of them are, I know that we do have some that are stepping up to the plate, but I expected a lot more, actually.
mhm. So wait until you hear what this one says, because this one was definitely a jaw dropper. I'm gonna grab an energy drink after this, by the way. Um, The skies open up in the cold moorland as the heavens say, embrace what is, not what you think it should be. Now is the time to break free from the expectations that people have of you and the ones you have for yourself. Ask yourself, have you been living a life of people pleasing? Are you making choices according to the desires of your spirit? Perhaps what is confusing your heart is not knowing what you want with certainty because you've spent too much time doing what you're told. This is literally like 90% of women I know right now. They're afraid to admit that they're pro choice. They're afraid to, not do what their pastor says. They're afraid to yell at their politicians. They're afraid to vote for their own rights. And that's all because society has continually told women to keep bending over further and further and further backwards, take more disrespect, clean up after men, provide for men, do this for men. This is literally the Moorland saying, you don't have to do any of that because you don't owe people anything at this point.
Yes. Well, that's really important. And
Hmm.
you know what? Even though right now, this is terrible for America, what's happening with America right now? And do you need to, dr- you know, dr-
Yeah,
uh,
let me just grab my phone.
okay, I'll talk for a minute while you go get your energy drink.
Okay.
This is
Okay,
terrible
just
for America. And really, the important thing to remember is that everything is chaotic right now. And a lot of that's, politicians are trying to distract us with all the chaos that's happening because they have so many reasons why they want us to be distracted, which is causing anxiety, it's causing stress, it's causing confusion with everybody, not just women, but everybody. Of course, women, yes. But it's important that we have to live our lives because we can't put ourselves on hold. We already did that during the pandemic. We were on hold for
Mhm.
years. Right now, we still have to keep moving forward with our lives. We can't say, well, I don't want to do self care. I don't want to meditate. I don't want to do yoga. I don't want to do these things because look what a mess America is in. We can't, yes, we have to pay attention. And yes, we have to fight for it. And yes, we have to find our voices, but we also have to take care of ourselves. Do you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. So let's get a little bit more into what this says, because this is like such a 1-2 punch as far as
Right.
like Terra for America, how women can adapt. It continues on by saying, this is the time you have to break free from the person you were told to be and step into the person that you are by making sure what you choose and stand for is rooting in your own desire. And Musings, we love you, and I'm glad that you're here for this because if you're here, I'm assuming that there's something that you need to hear from this reading as well.
Yeah. Thank you to everyone who's here. We really appreciate
Hmm.
you. And we're doing this because we just want to share whatever we're talking about. A lot of the things that are coming up as questions are things that Oceana and I have talked about privately. So
Hmm.
important information. So thank you all for being here. Go ahead.
So it continues. When it comes to the expectations you set for yourself, try to be kind and don't set yourself up for failure by setting impossible goals. There's a lot you can do and accomplish, but you don't have to do it all at once. So I think this goes for everyone, men, women, non-binaries. Like, we all have to just take things one day at a time. Every
Absolutely.
single day that is in this chaotic mess of a world, it's gonna be its own little hassle. It's gonna be its own little challenge. As long as you're still sitting there grinding through, you're doing good.
You know,
So,
what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. That's one of my
mhm,
favorite things. And right now we're all being tested. So
mhm,
the people that will come out of this will be the strong. They'll be the strong ones. So we just have to, and we have to take care of ourselves because if we're not taking care of ourselves, if we're getting totally stressed out or freaking out or depressed, we're not helping ourselves and we're not helping anybody else.
exactly. And it's listening, I see you say, "Hi, my body stays in fight or flight mode because of the news."
Yeah.
I completely understand.
Yeah.
Like,
So many
I
people.
got I got so burnt out that, like, I was actually accidentally starving myself. As some people know, my body does not process food the normal way, so I didn't even realize that I was inadvertently starving myself, and it hit really bad. I started having very bad gaps in my memory. People started to mention that I didn't look good. Well, we found out why. So, let's see what else they have as far as the desert. The moment
Yes.
of endings.
And for listening, thank you for being here. And social anxiety is an all-time high, and that's done on
Mhm,
purpose. This is a socially engineered event where the
Uh-huh.
the party in power wants us to be so stressed out, freaked out that we don't pay attention to what's really happening. So, I hope that you'll stop and get some deep breaths and relax and do something to appreciate yourself. We appreciate you being here. So,
Yeah.
self care, very important right now.
I
My
am
friend
so glad
agrees.
to I am so glad to see everybody here, and once again, this is, for those who just joined us, this is just a quick reading on what women can do to adapt to a world where they have fewer rights than their moms did. Hey, so.
Hey, so. Yeah, this is Tarot for America, but we tonight we're talking about how people are dealing with being in America right now and how it's affecting them with social anxiety and nightmares, and it's just triggering for a lot of people, and what they can do and what the cards are saying that can be done to get us through this difficult time. Take it away.
So,
Yeah.
the last one which I pulled, I actually wanna show everybody the card once again because these cards are absolutely beautiful. This one is called The Desert, and it's actually the moment of endings, which is exactly what we're going through right now. The America that we grew up with is gone. It is not coming back. We can no longer turn back the clock. We have all seen too much. We have all experienced too much. There are way too many holes in, like, hey, there are way too many holes in the social safety net. And there are way too many things that were exposed about the way that America lives. So, yeah, we are right now between a beginning and an ending. And it's saying the idea of death might sound frightening. It only means the universe is giving you the opportunity for transformation. Hello, my dear emotional support Canadian. So
Ah,
this moment, this moment in your life means a major change is about to happening, and it's something you've felt coming. Don't resist. It's time to embrace it and surrender. This may mean losing a friendship that no longer serves you, an idea that you were passionate about didn't work, or the person who you thought you were doesn't align with you anymore. It's time to evolve.
I've had in the last month, I've lost 3 friends suddenly, just suddenly. Someone I had who I was working with in a job, she left all of a sudden. She gave like 1 day notice, not to me. She didn't resign to me, but we worked together in our companies. And I was so shocked, but she left. She said, I've had it. I can't do it anymore, and just quit. And then I had a friend pass away suddenly. So, and I had another friend who just vanished. It's happening a lot, and it's really hard because when you work so hard to build a friendship and it disappears, you know? But I think a lot of people are experiencing that, and it has a lot to do with the isolation, don't you believe?
Uh-huh. Oh, absolutely.
Which
Like
came up in a card, which came up in the previous cards.
very much so. Like I recently lost a lot of friends, many of which I've made the decision to cut off myself. Um including like as a lot of you guys know, I had a mental breakdown a couple of weeks ago. My situation at home was getting extremely toxic, and I literally reached out to people who could have helped me or who could have at least gotten me out of the house, and everybody just kind of bailed on me on like the worst possible time, and I was like, "You know what? I remember each and every one of you." Like, there are a lot of people who I don't think that they even realize they've been blackballed, but they're going to realize because I think that they're expecting me to forgive them, and I'm like, I was in a very dire situation, and I was almost 5150. Like,
Oh,
the fact
no.
that yeah, I was like, the fact that people build on me, I realized that, like, I can't keep letting people do that to me. So, that was, like, my wake-up call where I was like, "Okay, I really don't wish them the best, but I no longer have any interest in working with them, talking to them, even just, like, as a friend." And I
Sorry
think
that
the
that
last
happened.
it
I'm so sorry
happens,
that
but
happened.
you know what? It happens, but there's a certain point where things break and you have to be like, "Okay, you know what? This thing's not working. I don't wanna repair it." Exactly, it's an eyes open moment.
Exactly.
And a lot of us have been losing friends. They've been losing social circles, after my birthday party. I don't know whether to call that a murder attempt or not, but somebody slipped a drug that I'm allergic to and they knew I was allergic to in my drink, and my heart stopped on the dance floor. Um, I'm just gonna point out, like, I have not gone to another rave, I don't think, alone unless, like, I was paid to be there
My
since then.
god, that is horrible.
Yeah.
I didn't know that happened. What the
Yeah,
hell?
that was on my birthday. So, that was, like that was my wake up moment, and, like, while mine tend to be a lot more dramatic simply because of the situation I'm in and the people who I know, um, I think everybody's been feeling those same kinds of endings, and almost everybody I know has been going through some kind of grief, one way or another. Like, recently, I've had 2 of my bosses who have lost people. I've had, um I've had a couple of people who straight up, they just said that they quit the same music scene where I almost got killed at. I've had people I've known who I thought were gonna be lifers in the adult film industry drop out. And, for the people who dropped out of that industry, I congratulate them because they decided that, this is not for them anymore. They wanted something healthier for themselves, and that industry gave them enough money to springboard their career elsewhere.
Which is good. Good for them.
But that's just the thing about endings. There's always gonna be a new beginning. We just don't always see it.
Right. Exactly.
And let's see what else it says. You might feel anxious or uneasy going through this moment, but what feels like a dark night approaching is exactly what your spirit needs to close a chapter of your life.
There you go. There it is.
Don't abandon yourself. This moment you need to know who you can count on, and you need to know that you can count on yourself.
Yes.
This transition will break you, but it will be an opportunity to rebuild yourself from the ground. Even if you don't understand it at the moment, in time you'll see that you weren't falling. This is because this is the moment where you start healing. And I think that for almost every woman in the United States, they feel that so hard because every woman I've seen misses when they had this belief that America was going to be the place where they don't have to deal with misogyny, where, there'll always be a man by their side ready to protect them, that, everybody's going to have, like, I remember as a little girl, like, obviously weddings are kind of a very sore spot for me, but when I was a little girl, like, even in school, they'd have us sing, "Someday my prince will come." Like, the idea of going through life as a adult without getting married, that was just never spoken of. And a lot of women, they're grieving what could have been for them, you know? But at the same time, they're also waking up to the fact that they're free. Like, and I mean that in the sense that they no longer have that expectation to be married.
Yeah.
They no longer have that expectation to have
Right.
kids whether or not they want them.
Or if they want them, they're having them by themselves.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The
Which
thing
is
that
great. If
most
they can do it, if they can afford it and take care of them,
Mhm,
that's wonderful. But yeah, there's just been a total change of the way it used to be. Like you said earlier, when the cards came back that, America today is nothing like it was. In fact, it changed in 2020 with the pandemic and it has never recovered. And it never will. It's never going to be the same.
mhm. The thing that most people don't realize, and it's something that I've learned, several times over, is that freedom is freaking terrifying. That's the truth of it. It's absolute exactly.
Yeah,
For some people of a
exactly.
certain age, there's a real push and pull when you see it for what it is.
Yes, exactly, Anna. Is it
And I
Anna or Anna? Is it Anna or Anna?
um
Okay, but I appreciate the comment.
yeah. So, like, speaking as somebody who was trafficked, like, I was a genuine, like, slave.
Oh, okay, thank you.
And one of the things that I often miss about that life is that I never had to think up for myself. I never had to wonder what I was doing. I never had to wonder who I was going to speak to. I never had to wonder this, that, or the other. I was a kept person, and while that person also had the right to kill me if they wanted to, they never had me worry about what was next. When you're free, it's terrifying because not only do you not answer to anyone, but you also have to answer to yourself.
Right.
You have to be the one to talk to people. You have to be the one to think of everything. You have to provide for yourself. You have to build your own house. You have to figure out where your shelter is. There's no one telling you where to go or what to do. And that is like when you first actually feel that after basically being livestock for a couple years, that fear is staggering. Like I still have that tendency towards expecting someone to tell me what to do or to order me around, to take the lead. And I think that on a smaller scale, almost every woman is starting to get to that point. Exactly.
Everyone is in it right now. We're all just surviving. Like, the cards came up before. Yeah, and I'm so sorry, like, as Jason just said, I'm so sorry and so that you went through that, Oceana. I'm so sorry. But right now, we're all going through our own version of identity crisis. Is that a good way to describe
Yeah,
it? Kind of what you went through was an identity crisis.
it
So,
absolutely was.
yeah, I'm so sorry. But you came out of
Well,
it and you're doing great. And I'm so proud of you.
my my horrific backstory was a great teacher. Unfortunately, that means that I have a lot more experience in what a lot of people are going through right now on a smaller scale. So, while I still have the battle scars both literally and mentally, I can honestly say that a lot of those lessons I learned from back in my teenage years and young adult years, they they helped me help others guide themselves towards a better life. And one of the things that I've noticed a lot of women feeling right now, it's like, okay, this is not what I was expecting. The things that society kept telling me to do are not actually working out. And I find out later that they're not even necessary. So
Right.
now what do I do? There's that huge now what that so many women, and I think to a point also men, are
Right.
experiencing. They
People.
don't know, like, back in the day, there was, like, a game or, like, there were rules of the game. The rules
Other.
no longer apply.
Right.
So exactly.
Right.
Like,
Right. Exactly.
the rules aren't real, they never were. Both men and women, like
Right. Illusions. It's all
yeah.
illusions. So, Miss Oceana, I am going to have to drop here in a little bit.
Alright.
Do you have one or two last questions you want to ask about
Yes.
America for the people?
Let's let's ask about what's gonna happen with men. How can men do better in a Trumpian world? And how are
Okay.
men going to be able to handle their own lives like this, you know?
Right.
Alright, so let's do 3 cards for the guys too. The bell, interesting that it looks like the Liberty Bell, and it's cracked. It's interesting that's cracked and looks like the Liberty Bell. Okay, these two both oh, wow, these are really stuck together. Alright, we've got the bell, the tree, and the gate. And it's interesting because I see a lot of skulls on 2 of these cards. Not sure if you can tell, but there's skulls there, there's skulls in the tree, and there's none on the bell, but there's a lot of, like, afterlifey type of vibes to this. Um, go to therapy, wink, wink, wink. Okay, I'm going to not quite understand that, but
Well,
okay, so we've got
Therapy does help. But I think as far
it
as men
does.
are concerned, what would help them is if they start forming relationships with each other, sort of banding together
Mhm.
to help each other get through hard times.
So the first thing that it says is the tree, the sign of wisdom, connection, and the passing of time. Everything that leaves returns in another form. And I think that's been an overall, like, I want to say, theme to the 2020s. We absolutely have seen the return of Nazism. We've seen the return of misogyny. But what most men don't remember from the days of yore is that feminism made life a lot easier for men too. You're going to see a lot of men become very earnest proponents of feminism when they realize all the benefits that they get from it too.
Right. There, yeah, a lot less stress on them. I mean, when it's a
Mhm.
unified front and women are helping as, equal partners.
Exactly. And it says here is that this sign reminds you that everything in the world is connected. While some things may change their form, nothing is ever actually lost. When it comes to the connections you form with people you love, these bonds can and will last forever. Love transcends time and space, and this energy will eventually return to you. It could be in the shape of a new friend. It could be a stray puppy crossing your way, flowers blooming in your garden, or a resolution to a problem you've been praying for. But your loved ones on the other side are always watching you. You haven't lost them. They've only transcended to another form. If you've lost someone, a person or otherwise, this is your sign that they're present and listening to your prayers. So, this is a very poignant card for what I think a lot of men are going through. They feel like they've lost their way. They felt like they've been lacking connections. If I had $1 for every single guy I've seen online, like just praying for a girlfriend or even a friend, this card is telling you that they are out there. But you have to keep reaching out. You have to keep searching for them.
Right.
Because I can tell you, like, firsthand, there are women out there praying for a guy who just wants to be around them too.
So really, the definition of that card, or the message of that card, is to just keep putting yourself out there, keep communicating, keep being open to people, keep
Hmm.
trying, don't give up.
And one of the things that I noticed is that the vacuum, that card in the kitten tarot,
Right.
was all about the fear of loss, the fear of this
Rejection.
illusion. There's nothing that you've actually lost. That's what it's trying to tell you. The vacuum is also like that whole fear of the unknown. As it turns out, it's just going to be kind of the same deal, except with a little bit more connection. And the vacuum is a cleaning tool. And what we're seeing right now is we're seeing a lot of stuff just clean up, for lack of a better term. We're starting to see a lot of people realign themselves with who they want to be rather than who society's trying to force them to be.
Wow. Have
So,
you noticed how even though you've used different decks, they've all
mhm,
dovetailed together and the answers are all very consistent?
mhm. So the
So,
next one I got for men who want to adapt to a Trumpian world is the
mhm,
gate.
okay.
And this is interesting because it's saying the sign of an opening portal. Welcome to the unknown. A lot of men I've noticed feel very lost about how they should behave with women, how they should handle themselves in this world where the rules are constantly changing. And most men I've met, they just want to be able to be the guy who people look up to, the guy who, when they think about them, they're like, oh, what a guy. And they want that for both men and like women. They want to be the admired guy in the room. So let's hear a little bit about this gate. Gates are a beautiful symbol because they mean that there's a boundary approaching. And at
Right.
the same time, there's beauty and mystery to tempt you to a cross. It's like the universe is showing you a door into the unknown at the same time telling you that if you dare to go beyond what is known to you, something extraordinary is bound to happen. This is a sign from the spirits that you need to make a transition, spiritually or physically, but there is a movement happening in your life. It's also a connection between the conscious and subconscious world, so watch your dreams. This omen means that there is something in your unconscious world that is trying to send you a message. And it also says that it can also mean that you may need to be cautious or approach a certain situation with caution. Pay
Mhm.
attention while your energy is high and vibrant.
Okay.
So, in here it also has like whether you're in balance or out of balance, and it says if you're in balance, you're going to start noticing a lot of doors opening. You're going to start connecting to your unconscious, having vivid dreams, moving with ease. But if you're feeling like you're out of whack, this might mean that you're avoiding the signs of change, or you might be having nightmares or insomnia, or you might be feeling reluctant to change the way that you behave,
Right.
or you might even start doing reckless things, which I've noticed a lot of men started to do. With the gate, I feel like a lot of guys don't realize that the gate can also represent women's boundaries.
Mm-hmm. Boundaries.
And, and it can also represent the boundaries and the walls that they put up around themselves. So
Could be both.
many, yeah, so many men I know, they have these massive hearts and they have so much love to give, but no one to give it to because they're too afraid to actually show who they really are.
Mm.
There are very few things more admirable and more striking than a man who can show genuine concern for women and men, even if they're not attracted to the person that they're talking to.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
And
Yeah. I'm gonna have to drop.
okay, we'll
So
see you later,
sorry.
Karen. It's all right. I know your phone's like dying, so I'll see you in a bit.
Okay.
Mwah.
Thank you to everybody who's been here, and this was a great
Mhm.
reading, a really, really great reading. I'll talk to you soon, Oceana.
Will do.
Bye.
Bye. So, while while Karen is out there, we still got some extra cards. I want to talk a little bit more about the gate as far as guys go because I think that most men I've met, and I could be wrong. Fellas in the chat, if you want to chime in on this, if you've been feeling nervous, alone, scared, like everything is just kind of like falling apart around you, I feel like the gate is trying to tell you that now is the time to show the world what you're made of. And I mean that in a positive way. Right now, more than ever before, I think that America in general needs strong men who care about others, who are okay with fighting for the rights of people who might not be able to fight for themselves. When I see the gate, I think that a lot of men are going to be exploring uncharted territory. I think that a lot of the men who have been feeling out of whack have been feeling like they have all these walls up around them because they have to. But in reality, more often than not, male vulnerability can be one of the most charming and also powerful things that a guy can do. After all, like women and other men can't really help you if they don't know that anything is wrong. And I feel like men, much more so than women, are always constantly told to put up a brave face and they're not always treated the nicest way when they actually do need help, when they are grieving, when they are going through it. And part of the reason why I dislike Trumpian style politics and also Trumpian style culture is because it encourages men to be that stoic, brave face, even when they're, dying inside, but they don't actually give any reward for that. You know what I mean? So that's my two thoughts on the gate. Men, there's a gate there, but you got to walk through it. It's cool that, you know, you built up all these walls. It's cool that there's all this other stuff going on, but there are opportunities out there to be the hero that you've always wanted to be. Like superheroes are not necessarily the people who wear capes. They're born every freaking day. They're the men who stand up for women, make sure that the girl's drink doesn't get spiked at a bar, make sure that you know, the family that he has food on the table, make sure that the person who is getting stuffed into an ice van has like a phone call or something to their relatives. That is what a real hero looks like. So let's finish off with the bell for the gentleman. So the bell is a sign of awakening. You are living the miracle. Gentlemen, I think that I don't feel like I really need to say much about this, but this is a wake-up card. A lot of the stuff that we've been hearing on media, especially geared towards men, has been this kind of like La La Land dream world where, you know, guys are given all these crazy ideas about how women work, this, that, and the other. And in reality, it's all just a bunch of BS. The sooner that you wake up to how much the media has been manipulating and isolating men, the better. So let's find out what this says. The sign of the bell softly says it's time to wake up. The bell ringing is a call from your spirit. You're transitioning from living in a dreamlike state to a state of awareness. You no longer want to be a passive player in your life. You're ready to take action. This means a moment of uncertainty coming to an end and a big announcement that could be happening soon. Maybe it's the news you've been waiting to hear from a long time, the achievement of a goal or the return of a loved one. The faith that your time is coming and you permit yourself to trust the goodness that is showing up for you. Pay attention to the sign in your daily life and in your dreams. Angels love this instrument and subtly show its presence. So, um, fellas, just tell me if, through a show of hearts, have you guys been feeling like you guys have been waking up to the reality of what's been going on and you're like, I'm ready to stand up for myself? Because I've been seeing that a lot with just gentlemen and women in general, but I've been noticing men for the longest time have not been okay with what's been going on with the Trump world, but more now than ever before, they seem to be vocally saying that they're not all right with the fascism that's been going on. Um, Even in the military, like I've been hearing a lot of F Trump, F this, F that. So those were my two gendered readings for today. I guess we should probably ask a little bit about, hmm, I don't know, what do you guys want me to read for? Because it's gonna be about an hour and a half, give or take, that I've been doing this. I'm definitely down to do more. It's just that I need to know what you guys are interested in reading. Um, I guess, would you like to see what the rest of the cabinet's doing, or what's going to happen with Trump, what's happening with the current military junta, if you want to call it that? Because I'd be down for that. All right, I got an idea. Show me with some heart emojis if you want me to do a reading on what's going to happen with Trump's ICE crowds in the next coming months. Waiting for hearts. Anybody want me to do a reading about ICE, the future of ICE? No? Okay. Oh, we got a couple of hearts. Okay. So let's find out what's going to happen with ICE. Will we be in a war within 2025? We already are in a war. Several. But let's find out what's going on with ICE. What's going to happen with the ICE agents. I'm going to do 3 cards for this with this, and then I'm going to do a couple of these because I really like this. So let's find out what's going on with ICE. I see a lot of death around them. The death card means like an absolute ending. Ace of Swords, that's going to be a breakthrough. Like we're going to hear a lot of really horrific stuff. Now, this is an interesting one because this is the Six of Pentacles, and that's usually a card that people get when they are getting donations, when they're begging, or when they're bailed out by a benefactor. And I could definitely see the Six of Pentacles being Trump bailing out ICE. But what's interesting here is that these two, the Ace of Swords and the Death card, that means that something is going to be ending very soon. And I think that the Ace of Swords means that something is going to be revealed. Like whenever I pull out the Ace of Swords, that usually means that there's going to be a major breakthrough, a secret's going to be revealed, or a new job opportunity. But with these together, I definitely get more of a sign that a lot more of the atrocities that are going on in ICE and Border Patrol, they're going to be coming to light. And it could be that there's going to be a lawsuit happening that they're going to try to settle out of court. Whether or not it's class action, I don't know. All right, let's find out what ICE has to do with this deck. All right. I just picked this out. As you saw, I shuffled it and everything. This is again, there's going to be some sort of ending with ICE. And I don't think it's going to be like ICE is not going to completely go away, but the way that things are going, there's going to be a major change. And I don't see ice expanding. This is not going to be one of those cases where ice is going to go the way of the dodo, but it's also not going to be expanding. If anything, it might shrink drastically. Oh, I got these three, which are the moon, the rose, the sun. Okay, so the sun and the moon together, that's usually like the end of a cycle. And the pendulum and the angel. So it's interesting that we got like three very, very angelic looking cards here. The rose has started to become a sign of peace among protesters. And with the moon and the sun, I think that there's been a lot of, I'm going to use the tarot, um, whatchamacallit, the tarot interpretation of this, because yeah, the moon is the card of intuition and feminine energy, being sensitive. When it's out of balance, it means deceiving, overreacting, keeping secrets, living in illusion. And the sun means being the center of attention, showing everything. The sun is shining, what the moon is hiding. Um, lots of the sun sets every day to give way to the night. You must also balance the masculine with rest and self-care. Um, between the two of them together, I definitely feel like there's going to be a lot of stuff coming to light. It's like the moon hides stuff, but the sun is bringing it out, you know? Um, now the rose, the pendulum, and the angel, it's interesting that we got all of those. This is a sign of love and sacrifice according to this deck, which means there's going to be, let's see, the universe offers you a rose, but it has thorns. Everything in life means a sacrifice. For everything you choose, there's something you must risk. And when it comes to love, choosing to love deeply means accepting the possibility of also losing them. Um, any kind any kind of relationship involves commitment and work. And pretty much what this is saying, in my opinion, is there's going to be a lot of loss involved with ice. And there's going to be a lot of people who have either lost people or who are going to end up losing a lot because of their affiliation with ice. And I think that to a point, because this card does have thorns on the rose and the person is grasping it, every rose has its thorns, so to speak. And anybody who got involved with ice is going to find the thorns are going to start piercing them a lot more. Both socially and perhaps legally, especially considering what I pulled last. The pendulum. Signs of answered prayers. What you seek is seeking you. Um, let's see. Feeling disoriented, experiencing dissonance, blocking. But, like there's been a pendulum type of thing. Right now, we've swung all the way to the right. Guess what? It's going to go all the way to the left. There's going to be a certain balance. And when the pendulum swings against the people who went through ice, to ice, and there's going to be this moment of healing, that's when you're going to see a lot of people being held accountable that you might not expect to be held accountable, including the actual like ice agents themselves. There's going to be a lot of people who drinking and driving with their kids in the back seat to silence their demons like the other day. Yeah. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of that. There's going to be a lot of people who there's going to be issues with people from ICE, and they're never really going to be able to live down what they did. If anybody finds it on their record, people are going to talk. That's what I'm saying. And now the angel is signs of guidance and protection. They're forces of love guiding you every step of the way. So this is a feeling of being safe, and because of the whole like angel thing, I almost want to say this might have something to do with Los Angeles. I think that the angels here, I don't think that they're looking over the ICE agents. I think that that's going to be more or less something that we're going to start seeing with the people who have been accosted by ICE, because they're the ones who everybody is praying for. No one is praying for the ICE agents. You know why? Because ICE agents are criminals. They're Gestapo. And frankly, if I were a deity, I'd be like, you know what? I'm going to be the angel for the people who they're actually arresting. The mothers, the children, the innocent people, the doctors, the lawyers who they literally just rounded up. The people who went to immigration court to try to get here legally and just got stopped in their tracks. So let's see what else we have here. Does anybody else want to see anything about the Epstein files? Show me with some hearts. Epstein files. Going once, going twice, going chicken soup and rice. Okay. Oh, that's a giant chunk of stuff, but I'm not going to read those. Okay. Oh, all right. So let's see. We got World Traveler. Actually, I want to see. You know what? I got a good. All right. I'll draw 3 for the Epstein files. All right. Let's see what's going to happen with the Epstein files. Let's see. There is a real battle going on about this behind the scenes and in front of people. The Epstein files have become the most heavily debated thing, I think, in Congress. The magician is a trickster, so there's been a lot of distractions, and that's exactly what the magician is known for. It's the look over here, not over here type thing. And the hermit is a man with light. He is literally shedding light on something. And I think that there is going to be light being shed. And on the back of the deck is the Queen of Cups, who she keeps coming up whenever I ask about Trump or the Epstein files. The Queen of Cups is a very emotional woman. She is somebody who is very caring, possibly with blonde hair, but she's upset. Most of the queens I always read as an upset woman. Um, I think that somebody who was directly affected by the Epstein files might actually end up being the one who completely tanks Trump. Um, let's see what else we got here. Um, does anybody want to know about the government shutdown? What's going to happen with that? Show me with some heart emojis. If I get a bunch of hearts, I'll do a government shutdown reading before I head out. Does she have to be alive? You know, that's a good question. You know what? I'm going to draw like 3 cards here. If I don't see any angel wings, I'm going to assume she's alive. She was definitely somebody who was stolen from. That's for sure. Like, this woman had a lot of things. She was intimidated, she was bullied, she was stolen from. A lot of the work that she did, it really got screwed over. So the Wheel of Fortune is interesting because I asked if there's going to be any angels on there, and I definitely see like an angel who's associated with justice here. And that's Trump's card, King of Swords. That's usually a card that I use for people who have whatchamacallit, who have ties to gangster stuff or organized crime like the Trumps do. And on the back, there was another woman, the Queen of Wands. I see a lot of women. Like, there's a lot of female wrath and fury. Now, with the Wheel of Fortune, I also want to say that this woman was kind of fated to have, like, if there is such a thing as fate, she definitely had a fate to stop Trump or to release the truth. Because if there's one thing I've learned about the universe does not like secrets and it does not like lies. Lies don't ever last forever. You know what I mean? So I get the feeling that there might be one who passed away, who has like, a big thing that's going to come out about her that's going to harm Trump with the Epstein files. But I also get the feeling that there may be somebody who's alive, who's female, who brings it to the light as well. All right. We're going to do one more question. Does anybody have any more questions? Okay, and I see that you suspected that it would be somebody who passed on. I want to hear your 2 cents on this. Do you think that it's one of the women who got trafficked? Because I have a feeling that it's actually going to be the trafficking victims, their families, or somebody close to them that might actually be the ones who really push in. I also think that it might be maybe even somebody. Yeah, I agree. Anna says yes. I do agree. So it's Virginia. Yeah, I could see that. Um, let's see. I guess we should probably do like one more question. I kind of want to find out. All right, does anybody else have any questions before we wrap up? Because it is almost an hour and 45 minutes. I do want to answer at least one more question now. And also, thank you so much for everyone who's here. That means a lot to me. Um, I had a question in mind. I guess what's going to happen to the Trump family in the next couple of months? Because I have my own feelings that something bad is. I don't want to say like something bad physically, but I feel like their position in life is going to start to spiral downwards in ways that I don't think they were expected. Oh, yeah, let's do yeah, let Anna says that we can do government shutdown. Let's find out what's going on with the government shutdown. What is the purpose of this and why are they doing it? Cuz I feel like there's a lot more that they're hiding from us. So, what's going on with this government shutdown? Knight of Swords, this is rapid destruction. They're acting like greedy people. This is the miser card, but they're also acting like a greedy tornado. And the chariot's interesting because the chariot's usually, all of these are really fast moving cards aside from the miser card. Like these are like the fastest moving cards in the deck. And I feel like, oh, and on the bottom, Ten of Swords. So it feels like they're really trying to fast track a lot of their, um, it feels like they're trying to fast track a lot of their legislation and court decisions. And I think that they're also trying to fast track a lot of their own moves so that Democrats can't do anything, even if they tried. I think that the Ten of Swords suggests that there's a major betrayal. I think that the betrayal comes with, yeah, it is Project 2025 stuff, but the Ten of Swords is also a card of rock bottom. So the fact that they've shut down the government because they've been getting so much pushback, I think that's their way of pulling their own red button, so to speak. This is their this is all that they can do in order to try to advance their own initiative at this point. Because it hasn't really gotten to the point where they can do martial law. They can't really do much of anything because people are starting to get angrier and angrier and angrier. And I think that they are genuinely afraid of the American people. So let's find out what's going to happen after the government shutdown is done. I see Knight of Pentacles, Page of Pentacles, Four of Wands, and Seven of Wands. I see a lot of yellow, a lot of gold here. I think that there's going to be a lot of money being exchanged, perhaps a new business, but everybody sees what they're doing. They're not being slick about it. We're going to know. And interestingly enough, we got the High Priestess. This is feminine energy that is clandestine. It's very intuitive. And I think this has something to do with something that women are hiding. Um, I get the feeling that there's a lot of attempts to muzzle female energy. But let's find out what's going to happen in terms of swearing in Democrats and what's going on there. Um, I got the Emperor, who is incidentally also seen seated here. I could definitely see that being Donald Trump looking over, but I also see the Fool here. So it's almost as if I'm kind of reading that as he's overseeing everything, but he's also kind of a puppet at the same time. There's a lot that's being hidden from us. But at this point, I think that he's more concerned about getting his own family situated, getting his own family, you know, taken care of, so to speak, so that they can go on without him, without his ability to live for much longer being an issue. Um, I definitely get the feeling that he's been working on trying to get all of them parachutes and to also just avoid jail. Aside from that, I don't really know what else is going to happen, but I don't feel like he's in as much control as he used to be. And I think that's going to end up, you know, burning the people who put him into power in the first place. Anywho, that was my reading today. Thank you all for joining. Anna, thank you so much. I see so many of you guys looking great. I'll see you in a little bit. And by the way, just giving you a heads up, if you missed the news earlier, there's going to be a brand new channel specifically for tarot readings where you can book readings with me, where you can book some of my psychic friends, and where we're going to be talking about all the metaphysical. And it's going to be called House of Sekhmet. You're going to see a link for it coming up soon. Love you guys. Oh, and by the way, if you're psychic and you want to join, holler at your girl. Bye.